Chapter 363. Yichen didn't need to turn around to look. In his soul power perception, he could see a grey-robed old man flying down from the middle of the island. His extreme speed didn't give rise to the slightest air-piercing sound, as if he was the wind itself. Not only did the flowing air not obstruct him, it even pushed him forward. Extreme wind mentality. Being able to become extreme astral reaching experts, they indeed have their own way. In Yi Chen's knowledge, apart from Shen Tujue, other extreme astral reaching experts were either close to the limit or had already reached it. Of course, Shen Tujue had condensed a martial soul embryo, and his battle power was a notch higher than ordinary extreme astral reaching experts. His absolute power and willpower could make up for the disparity in mentality. Without a sound, the grey-robed old man called Grand Elder Sun appeared in the sky above the assignment hall. "You're the one who injured Attendant Ma." Grand Elder Sun coldly looked down at Yi Chen. Raising his head, Yi Chen replied, "You didn't teach him well. That's why he was injured. Too arrogant." The city guard members were dumbstruck. Grand Elder Sun was so angry that he started laughing. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he said, "What a good, didn't teach him well. I'd like to see what makes you so arrogant." A silver long spear appeared in his hand. Grand Elder Sun's body tilted as he charged down from the sky, thrusting his spear forward. The air in front of him exploded, as if a black hole had been pierced through it. Fast. Astonishingly fast. From the moment the silver long spear appeared to the moment it shot towards Yi Chen, only a few seconds had passed. Many people didn't even have the time to shift their gazes. Ding! He was fast, but Yi Chen was even faster. Unsheathing the destruction sword, it directly pointed at the tip of the silver long spear. Without any deviation, it was as light as the wind and clouds, as fast as a dream. The two seemed to be exchanging blows, but the destructive power was frightening. The enormous assignment hall was instantly razed to the ground, erased from Bewilderment Fog Island. The surrounding city guard members all spurted out blood as they rapidly retreated, their faces filled with shock. So fast. He can actually keep up with my spear speed. Grand Elder Sun was gobsmacked. He mainly cultivated wind mentality, and each of his movements was excessively fast. However, under such a sudden situation, Yi Chen was still able to block his spear attack with all his strength, and seemed to still have energy to spare. In terms of the concept of wind, this person is the first person I have ever seen. However, compared to my speed, he is still lacking. The concept of speed is pure speed, without any impurities. But, the concept of wind contains speed, but it is not pure enough. As soon as they clashed, Grand Elder Sun's combat strength and characteristics were revealed. "Your sword speed is pretty fast. Take my 9 flowing wind spear." Xiao! 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 Originally, Grand Elder Sun's attacks didn't make any sound, but now that his spear speed had reached its peak, the sound could no longer be eliminated. The fine piercing sound was extremely ear-piercing. In an instant, 3 spear strikes were launched, the third and second spear bursting forth at almost the same time. It seemed as if only one spear had been launched. For swift swords. Ding, ding, ding. Dang. The first 3 sword attacks cancelled out Grand Elder Sun's spear attack. The fourth sword attack was thrown out before Grand Elder Sun could react, swiftly landing on his protective Zhen Yuan. Puff! His protective Zhen Yuan was shattered, and Grand Elder Sun's face turned pale. Blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth as he was blown back. The 4 swift swords had completely countered the 9 flowing wind spear. In front of the 4 swift swords, the 9 flowing wind spear could only launch 3 spear attacks. He didn't even have the time to use the 4th spear attack, because the 4 swift swords were even faster and more coordinated than him. One more sword attack would be redundant, and one less sword attack would not be able to increase the sword speed and power to the peak. Grand Elder Sun lost. Elder Bai and Lu Song shook their heads, their faces blank. Damn it! How could he be faster than me? The faster the sword, the weaker its power would be. Therefore, Grand Elder Sun had only suffered a light injury, which wouldn't affect his battle power. However, in terms of speed, which he was most proud of, he had completely lost to Yi Chen, which made him extremely angry. Ho! Die! Grand Elder Sun stomped on the ground, creating a deep gully. Grand Elder Sun soared into the sky, gathering the mentality of wind and the mentality of metal on his silver spear. The two mentalities complemented each other, turning the spear into an all-conquering, all-piercing attack. Sun Yen, stay your hand. An earthen yellow Jin Yuan giant hand pressed Grand Elder Sun back. Admittedly, part of the reason was that Grand Elder Sun hadn't finished accumulating power. However, an extreme astral reaching expert's casual attack could heavily injure a peak astral reaching expert. Even if he hadn't finished accumulating power, he shouldn't have been so easily suppressed. What a precise grasp of timing. The Zhen Yuan giant hand suppressed Grand Elder Sun just as his spear was about to erupt, saving me a lot of strength. Yi Chen didn't need to think to know that the island master of Bewilderment Fog Island had appeared. Only an astral-reaching paragon could easily suppress an extreme astral-reaching expert. The air distorted, and a figure appeared 30 steps away from Yi Chen. He was wearing a yellow robe, and his hands were behind his back. His yellow skin seemed quite special, and the Zhen Yuan fluctuations within his body were deeply concealed. If one carefully sensed it, they would feel an inexplicable horror, as if a dormant volcano was about to erupt and burn everything. Sub-Island Master Wang. Grand Elder Sun didn't know what to say. The yellow-faced middle-aged man waved his hand, you don't need to say anything. Go back first. I'll settle this matter. Everyone else, return to your positions. Yes. The city guards withdrew in an orderly manner. Grand Elder Sun sighed inwardly. With Sub-Island Master Wang's words, he clearly didn't intend to make things difficult for Yi Chen. Otherwise, why would he let them go? Yes, I'll take my leave. Grand Elder Sun didn't say anything else, turning around and flying towards his residence. Seeing that Grand Elder Sun had left, Elder White and Lu Song could only leave as well. One could well imagine the gloominess in their hearts. In a short while, only 3 people remained in the flattened assignment hall, Sub-Island Master Wang, Yi Chen, and the heavily injured horse-faced middle-aged man. What are you going to do? Sub-Island Master Wang looked at Yi Chen. Yi Chen could feel the pressure coming from the other party's body. Putting away the destruction sword, he said, I wonder if Bewilderment Fog Island can accommodate me. You want to join Bewilderment Fog Island? Sub-Island Master Wang had actually guessed Yi Chen's thoughts. Not killing Attendant Ma and the others was either because he was soft-hearted or because he had some misgivings. That's right. Sub-Island Master Wang sized up Yi Chen, your strength has undoubtedly reached the level of a Grand Elder, and our Bewilderment Fog Island is different from the sections. We don't have any rules. Come to the conference hall tomorrow. The Island Master will personally appoint you as the 20th Grand Elder of Bewilderment Fog Island. Finished speaking, Sub-Island Master Wang directly left. Scary person. The other party's words and actions were swift and decisive. Although he didn't speak much, the pressure he exuded was much scarier than a person who spoke 100 sentences. The horse-faced middle-aged man originally hoped that Sub-Island Master Wang could teach Yi Chen a lesson. Seeing this result, his face turned ashen as he looked at Yi Chen, trembling in fear. I'll accept your spirit stones. Yi Chen didn't even look at the horse-faced middle-aged man as he turned around and walked down the street. There were many martial artists coming and going on the street in an endless stream. Zhao Yushuang, Zhao Heng, and the rest had just returned from hunting with a bountiful harvest. The assignment hall is gone. Zhao Yushuang said in surprise. No, there was a great battle here. Zhao Heng saw some clues. Great battle. Who dares to tear down the assignment hall? Any astral-reaching expert under Sea of Soul Realm will have to accept Bewilderment Fog Island's management. The one who spoke was Zhao Heng's son, a bearded middle-aged man. Zhao Heng said, "Why do you care so much? The outside world is unimaginably vast. Experts are as common as clouds. Perhaps there really are astral-reaching experts who can contend against Bewilderment Fog Island. Don't judge the unknown with our eyes." Zhao Yushuang changed the topic. "I wonder how Yi Chen is doing. Attendant Ma of the assignment hall is a blood-sucking bug. He's killed a lot of foreign experts. Fortunately, we didn't see his corpse hanging on the city gate. He should have settled down." "That's not necessarily true. The corpses hanging on the city gate are all brazen people who didn't obey Bewilderment Fog Island's management. Some people who obeyed the management and were quite wealthy were killed. They wouldn't be hung on the city gate. Otherwise, there would be less profit," the bearded middle-aged man retorted. Zhao Yushuang glared at her father. All right, let's go back. This time's harvest was quite bountiful, comparable to several previous harvests. Let's go back and celebrate." On the morning of the second day, Yi Chen walked out of the restaurant and headed towards the peak of Bewilderment Fog Island. Bewilderment Fog Island had 9 floors in total. Every time one entered a city, one had to pay an entrance fee. The first floor's fee was 1 low-grade spirit stone, the second floor's fee was 4, the third floor's fee was 7, the fourth floor's fee was 10, the fifth floor's fee was 13, and the ninth floor's fee was 25. Walking all the way to the peak, Yi Chen paid a total of 117 low-grade spirit stones. Of course, the first floor had its own identity token, and the second floor had its own identity token. Those with the second floor's identity token didn't need to pay the first floor's entrance fee. Otherwise, just the entrance fee alone would be an unbearable expense, unless one didn't leave the city for a long time. Yi Chen didn't care about this little bit of low-grade spirit stones. Next time, he wouldn't have to pay. Entering the 9th floor's city, Yi Chen directly walked towards the Bewilderment Fog Palace at the peak of Bewilderment Fog Island. "Halt, or you'll be killed without mercy." The martial artist guarding the palace blocked Yi Chen's path. "It's Sub-Island Master Wang who told me to see Island Master. Do you have proof?" At this moment, Sub-Island Master Wang walked out from inside. "Let him in." "Yes." Following half a step behind Sub-Island Master Wang, Yi Chen observed his surroundings. The materials used to construct the Bewilderment Fog Palace were quite ordinary, but its appearance was quite extravagant. Island Master is a bit overbearing. "Be careful with your words," Sub-Island Master Wang reminded. Yi Chen blanked for a moment before saying, "Many thanks." Soon, the two passed through the plaza and arrived outside the conference hall. "Wait a moment." Sub-Island Master Wang stepped inside. On the main seat of the conference hall sat a black-robed old man. Different from ordinary old men, his body was tall and sturdy like a bear. His palms were like palm leaf fans, and his knuckles were like small chicken eggs, containing a frightening power. "Island Master, he's here." Sub-Island Master Wang sat on the main seat on the left, facing a white-robed old man. Below the two were 19 astral-reaching experts with different appearances. Grand Elder Sun was astonishingly among them. "Come in." The black-robed old man's voice resounded outside the conference hall. Hearing these words, Yi Chen walked in. "You're Yi Chen." The black-robed old man squinted his eyes. "Right. Apologize to Grand Elder Sun, and I won't pursue yesterday's matter," the black-robed old man said indifferently. Chapter 364. Yi Chen turned his head and glanced at Grand Elder Sunday. The latter revealed a faint smile and didn't look sideways, nor did he look at Yi Chen. "You're right. Grand Elder Sun fought with me and suffered some light injuries. I can compensate you with 10,000 mid-grade spirit stones. How about it, Grand Elder Sun? Yi Chen's words were beyond everyone's expectations. You. No matter how good Grand Elder Sun's self-restraint was, he couldn't help but fly into a rage. The black-robed old man clearly didn't expect Yi Chen to say these words. His brows twitched. So, you refuse to apologize? Think about the consequences. I came here after thinking about the consequences. I wonder if there's a place for me, Yi Chen, on Bewilderment Fog Island. I think Island Lord doesn't think I'll apologize, right? Hee, you're quite courageous. The black-robed old man smiled and stood up. Wrist-thick dark blue electric snakes burst out of his body, creating crackling sounds. The aura of an astral-reaching paragon instantly filled the entire hall, violently surging towards Yi Chen. Ka. The hall was, after all, constructed with ordinary materials. How could it withstand the black-robed old man's aura? Cracks spread out on the stone pillars, the ground, and the surrounding walls. With his long black hair fluttering in the wind, Yi Chen stood motionlessly at the center of the hall, allowing the aura to batter his body. If the black-robed old man's aura was like a tide, a raging thunder, then Yi Chen's aura was like a black reef, a long sword, condensed but not unleashed. Formidable. Worthy of being the expert who lightly injured Grand Elder Sunday, although Island Lord's aura isn't much stronger than an extreme astral-reaching expert's, he has a powerful martial will amplification. Ordinary extreme astral-reaching experts can't withstand it, yet his expression doesn't change. Some of the Grand Elders exchanged Qin Yuan transmissions. Greater success Sword Intent Realm, power surpassing perfection Sword Intent. The white-robed middle-aged man opposite Sub-Island Master Wang had a pensive expression. Abruptly, the black-robed old man's aura completely dissipated, as if it was just an illusion. Very good, you have the qualifications to become a Grand Elder. This is a Grand Elder's token. Take it. Swish. A black token shot towards Yi Chen. Reaching out to grab the token, Yi Chen asked, "What are the duties of a Grand Elder?" Bewilderment Fog Island is very free. What you need to do is manage your own area well. Of course, you can arrange for people to manage it. I don't have any other duties for now. If there are, I will inform you. As for the Doyen's residence, it will be next to Doyen Sunday. There is a relatively large vacancy there. The black-robed old man sat down again and said unhurriedly. Next door to Grand Elder Sunday, Yi Chen and Grand Elder Sun looked at each other and saw the hostility in each other's eyes. Hee, interesting. Among the elders, a charming middle-aged woman curled her lips. Yi Chen's arrival had added a trace of vitality to Bewilderment Fog Island. She believed that no one under the Sea of Soul Realm could leave Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone. Therefore, there would be a lot of internal struggles in the future. Although it was said to be next door to Grand Elder Sun, the two residences were actually dozens of li apart. The 10 li perimeter residence was completed within a week. What a joke. The builders were all condensing reality in clasping Yuan realm martial artists, numbering more than 500. The construction speed was inconceivably fast, almost a complete change in 2 hours. Of course, Yi Chen would have to pay his own salary. Condensing reality martial artists would get 10 low-grade spirit stones a day, while clasping Yuan realm martial artists would get 50 low-grade spirit stones a day. Yi Chen estimated that it would be completed in 10 days. 1 day earlier, the salary would increase by 10%, and 3 days earlier, it would be 30%. I have the Grand Elder's residence, but I don't have many subordinates. I can't do everything myself, right? There were all kinds of people on Bewilderment Fog Island. Some were from South River region, some were from island countries, and some were from other regions. These people naturally didn't dare to go against Bewilderment Fog Island, but they weren't that friendly with each other. Moreover, Bewilderment Fog Island didn't forbid fighting, as long as it didn't damage the buildings or disturb too many people. However, this standard was too vague. Some people liked to watch fights, while others didn't. Therefore, when it was necessary, Bewilderment Fog Island's forces would have to come out and mediate. Although the status of the elders is not as high as the Grand Elders, they don't take orders from the Grand Elders. However, there are 3 or 4 elders who have expressed their goodwill to me. Under the elders are the attendants of the duty hall and the captains of the guards. I have to take a few of them as subordinates. Bewilderment Fog Island was too chaotic. In fact, the 3 island masters had never thought about making the island orderly. Decades of peaceful life were always so boring. How could it be done without conflicts? Have you heard? Bewilderment Fog Island has a new Grand Elder. He's very young, about the same age as my brother. I also heard that this new Grand Elder gave Grand Elder's son a show of strength before becoming a Grand Elder. A lot of people saw it, right? Is that so? He seems quite powerful. There were very few clothing and jewelry stores on Bewilderment Fog Island. After all, this place was isolated from the rest of the world, and raw materials were not easy to find. Apart from most of them being produced on Bewilderment Fog Island, some had to be found at the bottom of the lake around the island, which consumed a lot of manpower and resources. This led to the high price of ordinary goods on Bewilderment Fog Island, which was dozens or even hundreds of times more expensive than the outside world. Even so, which girl didn't like beautiful clothes? Therefore, the female clothing stores were always very popular. Inside a large clothing store, a few girls in their 20s were gathered together, talking and laughing. "You're talking about that new Grand Elder?" Zhao Yushuang asked. "Yeah. Yushuang, you still don't know. She goes hunting with her grandpa all day long. How could she have time to pay attention to these things?" "Yushuang, it's not that I want to nag you, but you should also get married. There are relatively few women on Bewilderment Fog Island, so finding a good one is too easy. Look at us, we don't have to do anything every day, and we can spend spirit stone pellets like crazy. We can buy whatever clothes we want, unlike you, who can't even buy one in half a year." Exactly. If you want to find someone, it's best to find a powerful clasping yuan martial artist. Ordinary clasping yuan martial artists don't even have enough spirit stones for their own cultivation. If you can marry an astral reaching martial artist, that would be your fortune. Zhao Yushuang curled her lips. She had grown up with these 2 sisters, but they were all married. Their husbands were peak clasping yuan martial artists, and one of them was even married to an early astral reaching martial artist. However, these people were all in their 40s, almost the same age as her father. She couldn't help but feel a bit disgusted. "Miss, this dress costs 3 low-grade spirit stones and 5 spirit stone pellets. 10 spirit stone pellets were equivalent to 1 low-grade spirit stone." On Bewilderment Fog Island, the lowest form of currency was spirit stone pellets. There was no silver or gold, because silver was basically useless here. It couldn't be eaten, nor could it be used for cultivation. Spirit stone pellets were intentionally made. A low-grade spirit stone was cut into 10 pieces, and they would become spirit stone pellets. However, the spirit stone pellets needed to be sealed with special methods. Otherwise, after a long time, the spirit stone yuan qi inside would gradually dissipate, turning into a useless stone. Of course, demonic beast pellets could also be used as currency. A rank 3 demonic beast pellet was equivalent to 1 low-grade spirit stone, and a rank 4 demonic beast pellet was equivalent to 10 low-grade spirit stones. If one felt that it was not worth it, they could go to a pill shop to exchange. Sometimes, a high-grade rank 3 demonic beast pellet could be exchanged for 2 or 3 low-grade spirit stones. Here. Last time, she had earned 3,000 low-grade spirit stones from Yi Chen, which was almost several months of income for the Zhao family. Zhao Yushuang still had some spirit stones in her hands. Yushuang, wearing clothes that cost a few spirit stones each is too shabby. How about this one? I'll give it to you. Right at this moment, a middle-aged man in his 40s walked in. He went straight to the luxurious clothes rack and picked up a luxurious piece of clothing. Seeing a big customer, the shopkeeper said with a face full of smiles, "Good eyesight." The main material of this piece of clothing is 100-year spirit silk from 10,000 meters deep in the Star Regional Lake. Not only is it beautiful and elegant, it is also resistant to fire and water. Even ordinary clasping yuan martial artists would not be able to break it in one go. Zhao Yushuang creased her brows. The man was an early astral reaching expert in his 50s. His bones were thick, and his body was a bit short. He had been pursuing her for several months. "Shopkeeper, how many spirit stones is this piece of clothing?" "You are a big customer, so I'll give you a 20% discount. 800 low-grade spirit stones." The original price of this piece of clothing was only 900 low-grade spirit stones. With a 20% discount, it should be 720. However, big customers were meant to be exploited. How could the shopkeeper not understand this logic? "Very cheap, I'll take it." Zhao Yushuang bit her lips. "Thank you for your kindness, but I cannot accept it." "Why?" "I have no intention of marrying for the time being. I have been chasing you for several months. Which astral reaching expert could do what I did?" "Yushuang, if you marry me, your Zhao family won't have to go out hunting every day. Although I, Li Tao, am not a top-notch rich person, I have a lot of low-grade spirit stones." The Star Regional Lake was bottomless, and powerful beasts usually lived in the deepest part. Clasping yuan martial artists could dive 10,000 meters deep, while astral reaching experts could dive tens of thousands of meters deep. They could casually kill a 6th or 7th grade beast and earn a lot of spirit stones. Therefore, astral reaching experts rarely lacked low-grade spirit stones. Only mid-grade spirit stones were a bit lacking. Fortunately, Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone was not a barren land. On the island, under the lake, there were also a lot of spirit veins. Although the supply could not meet the demand, it could still be maintained. "Sorry, I will go back first." Zhao Yushuang did not dare to offend him, so she lowered her head and prepared to leave. Humph. Refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. "I have already given you face. If you don't want it, don't blame me." Blocking in front of Zhao Yushuang, the muscular middle-aged man had an unkind expression. The rules of Bewilderment Fog Island were very chaotic, and he was not afraid of people competing with him. After all, powerful astral reaching experts were usually old and had women and children. He had women and children in the outside world, but after being trapped in Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone for dozens of years, he had long wanted to marry again. "What do you want?" Zhao Yushuang's expression changed. "What do I want? Naturally, I want you to obediently follow me." As he spoke, he grabbed Zhao Yushuang's arm and forcefully dragged her out of the shop, heading towards his own residence. On the street, Yi Chen was about to leave the island to investigate the situation around and see if there was any way to leave Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone. "Help!" Faintly, he heard a woman's cry for help. It was very familiar. "It's her." Creasing his brows, Yi Chen followed the voice. Swish! The distance of several li was covered in an instant. Seeing Zhao Yushuang being carried by an early astral reaching expert, Yi Chen did not need to think to know what had happened. Bewilderment Fog Island is really chaotic. Shaking his head, Yi Chen waved his palm, slapping the man back to the ground. Chapter 365. Who is it? Yi Chen's palm strike contained a hard and a soft power, forcibly separating Zhao Yushuang and the robust middle-aged man. Of course, it was the soft power that acted on Zhao Yushuang's body. As for the robust middle-aged man, he was directly forced back by the hard power, his face filled with shock. Walking over step by step, Yi Chen's gaze turned cold as he spat out a single word, scram. Who are you? Do you know that I'm Elder Tai's subordinate? The robust middle-aged man was extremely apprehensive of Yi Chen's strength. Although he was an early astral reaching expert, to be able to casually slap him to the ground, one had to be at least a mid-astral reaching expert. However, an ordinary mid-astral reaching expert couldn't forcibly separate the two without injuring the other. Those who dared to do so had to have overwhelming strength. Therefore, he could only threaten the other with his backer, hoping that Yi Chen would back off. Humph. Without speaking any more nonsense, Yi Chen waved his right hand, sending a surging Jin Yuan stream flying. He then revealed the Grand Elder's token and warned, next time, I'll take your dog life. You, what? Grand Elder's token? The robust middle-aged man's eyes widened as his gaze fell on the Grand Elder's token in Yi Chen's hand. On Bewilderment Fog Island, the top were the 3 island masters, followed by the Grand Elders, and then the Elders. Using an Elder to threaten a Grand Elder was simply asking to die. The robust middle-aged man was terrified, fearing that Yi Chen would kill him out of anger. Hearing that he wouldn't be killed, he promptly said, yes, Li Tao, scram at once. What? You want to scram without compensation? Putting away the Grand Elder's token, Yi Chen said indifferently. I'll pay 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. No, 30,000 low-grade spirit stones. Although he didn't lack low-grade spirit stones, it was because he usually didn't use low-grade spirit stones for cultivation. Low-grade spirit stones were his currency. Apart from mid-grade spirit stones, he had 70 to 80,000 low-grade spirit stones. Moreover, as an astral reaching expert, he could earn them at any time. Therefore, he dared to say that he had a lot of low-grade spirit stones. Yi Chen said, 30,000 isn't enough. Hand over 50,000 low-grade spirit stones, and you can scram. 50,000. Alright, I'll compensate you. Li Tao hesitated for a while, then reluctantly took out 5 big boxes. Each box contained 10,000 low-grade spirit stones, exactly 50,000. After Li Tao left, Yi Chen turned his head and looked at Zhao Yushuang. All the low-grade spirit stones here are yours. All mine. Zhao Yushuang was still in shock. How did Yi Chen become a senior elder of Bewilderment Fog Island in just a dozen days? In her impression, the position of the Grand Elder was below the 3 of them and above millions of people. They held the power of life and death in their hands. You're the new elder? Zhao Yushuang couldn't help but ask cautiously. Yi Chen nodded. It's a long story. Let's talk about it some other time. After saying that, Yi Chen walked towards the city gate. No wonder Yushuang isn't in a hurry to get married. It turns out she knows the new Grand Elder. What a young elder. He has both power and money. If you marry him, you won't have to worry for the rest of your life. Zhao Yushuang's friends were very envious. A few hundred li away from Bewilderment Fog Island, a figure was floating in the air. The sensory ball is indeed magical. It can sense something from so far away. I don't have to worry about getting lost in the fog. In his slender palm was a light ball that was emitting a yellow radiance. Moreover, by injecting his mental power into it, Yi Chen could easily sense the direction of Bewilderment Fog Island. The connection between the sensory ball and the sensory pagoda is 1,000 li. The sensory pagoda is at the center of Bewilderment Fog Island. It's about 200 li away from the edge of the island. In other words, I can't go more than 800 li away from Bewilderment Fog Island. Otherwise, the sensory ball will lose its effect. I haven't reached the limit yet. Keep going. Holding the sensory ball in his hand, Yi Chen went deeper into the fog. 300 li. 700 li. 750 li. As the distance increased, the color of the sensory ball gradually turned red. Now, it was a faint orange color, a warning of danger. Almost there. Yi Chen no longer flew in a straight line. Instead, he flew around the island. Yi Chen. After traveling for about 3,000 li, Yi Chen ran into the only woman among the Grand Elders, Lu Mei. "It's Grand Elder Lu. Why are you here?" Yi Chen greeted. Lu Mei brushed her hair and smiled, "Same as you, to see if there's any way to leave Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone. I don't want to stay here for the rest of my life." "So that's how it is." Yi Chen understood. Lu Mei seemed to be in her 30s or 40s. According to the 200 years lifespan of an astral reaching expert, she wouldn't be older than 70, and very likely not even 50. She was far from reaching the limit of an astral reaching expert's lifespan. Therefore, it was impossible for her to enter Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone for the reverse 9-turn spirit grass. Naturally, she would think of a way to leave. "Do you have any clues?" Lu Mei asked. Yi Chen shook his head. Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone is very strange. Not only does it restrict the transmission of spirit power, it can't lock onto anything in the dense fog. If one flew in a straight line, it would be easy to leave Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone. For example, Yi Chen's soul power had a range of several dozen li. Then, as long as he locked onto a certain area with his soul power, he would fly over and continue flying in a straight line. In this way, he would be able to smoothly leave. However, Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone wasn't that simple. Clearly, he had locked onto a small area, but once he reached it, he would discover a huge deviation. In other words, he might think he had locked onto something, but in fact, he hadn't. Lu Mei understood Yi Chen's meaning. She had tried this method before, but it didn't have any effect. "Seems like if I don't find an effective method, I might stay here for the rest of my life." Lu Mei revealed a bitter smile. "There's always a chance of survival in this world. There will be a way. Yi Chen wouldn't give up so easily. I'll go back first. You continue." Lu Mei hoped that Yi Chen would be able to find a way out, but subconsciously, she didn't think that Yi Chen could do it. It should be known that she had stayed in Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone for 5 years, and had tried all sorts of methods. She had even gotten lost in the dense fog several times, but she still had no clue. After Lu Mei left, Yi Chen's brows creased. As he had said, there was always a chance of survival in this world. For Sea of Soul Realm experts to be able to smoothly leave, they must have fulfilled that condition. "My soul power is only restricted by 10%. This is my advantage. I'll definitely find a way." Compared to other astral reaching experts, Yi Chen's chances of leaving were countless times higher. So, he definitely had a way. As dusk approached, the fog was getting thicker and thicker. "I originally thought I could leave from the first layer of sky, stunning sky. However, this Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone also shrouds stunning sky. Fortunately, I sensed something was wrong and immediately stopped moving. Otherwise, I might not have been able to return to Bewilderment Fog Island." The deeper one went into Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone, the more frightening it became. Yi Chen guessed that the second layer of sky, Extreme Void, was also shrouded in Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone. Otherwise, Sea of Soul Realm experts wouldn't have such a taboo around it and wouldn't easily enter. "It's getting dark. Let's go back first." Unable to find a way for the time being, Yi Chen had no choice but to return to Bewilderment Fog Island. Day after day passed. Yi Chen would leave Bewilderment Fog Island every day, searching for a way out. On this day, an attendant came to report. "You want me to oversee Bewilderment Fog ship tomorrow?" Yi Chen said. "Yes." The deacon who came to report nodded. "Got it." Bewilderment Fog ship was the ship Yi Chen had seen when he first arrived. Every time it went out to explore, 3 Grand Elders would be chosen to oversee it. This time, it was Yi Chen and 2 other Grand Elders' turn. On the morning of the next day, Yi Chen arrived at the pier. Grand Elder Yi. On the 1,000-meter-long ship, Lu Mei and an old Grand Elder Chen were standing on the deck. The one speaking was Lu Mei. Yi Chen chuckled, then flew up. What a coincidence. Lu Mei said, yeah. Bewilderment Fog ship sets sail once a month. You're new, so you're also included. So that's how it is. At this moment, Grand Elder Chen said, Grand Elder Yi, although there isn't any danger in overseeing the Bewilderment Fog ship, we still can't be careless. During a voyage more than 10 years ago, the entire ship mysteriously disappeared, including the 3 Grand Elders overseeing it. So, we have to be fully prepared. The entire ship disappeared. This was Yi Chen's first time hearing about this. Lu Mei said solemnly, that's right. I heard about this when I first arrived. Until now, the Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone is still a mystery. No one knows where the missing people went. With all the members present, Bewilderment Fog ship set off. The small-sized sensor pagoda on Bewilderment Fog ship had a wider sensing range than ordinary sensor balls. It could reach 3,000 li. Of course, the safe distance was usually 2,800 li. Any further and it would be more dangerous. Walala. The waves on the lake surged. The 1,000-meter-long Bewilderment Fog ship moved forward at a speed of 100 li per hour. On the deck, Yi Chen took out the sensor ball. It had lost its connection with Bewilderment Fog Island. We're 1,500 li away. Fortunately, there's a small-sized sensor pagoda on Bewilderment Fog ship. Putting away the sensor ball, Yi Chen released his soul power to observe the surroundings. Gulp. Vaguely, Yi Chen heard a strange sound. Gulp. Gulp. The sound became more and more hurried, and everyone on the ship could hear it. Grand Elder Chen walked over, be careful. It's a rank 8 demonic beast, Bewilderment Fog beast. This kind of demonic beast doesn't exist in the outside world. Moreover, under normal circumstances, it won't appear on the water. Only when Bewilderment Fog ship moves out will it follow us and launch a fierce attack. Was it attracted by the small-sized sensor pagoda? Yi Chen asked. More or less. It's coming up. Boom. Grand Elder Chen's voice had just faded when a huge wave soared into the sky. At the same time, a huge black shadow appeared in the dense fog, moving toward the ship at a high speed. Courting death. Grand Elder Chen took out a silver light mace and threw out a heavy blow. Ping! On the surface of the lake, a gale rose, and a shockwave spread out. Yi Chen stretched out both of his hands and created a Jin Yuan wall, isolating the shockwave. Lu Mei walked out of the cabin and said with a frown, every time we go out, we'll be attacked by the Bewilderment Fog beast. How troublesome. Roar. The Bewilderment Fog beast seemed to be injured as it twisted the water crazily. Even the ship was greatly affected. The bow of the ship turned around and kept shaking. Horizontal mountain strike. Grand Elder Chen also roared. Rousing his Jin Yuan, he chopped down with the silver light mace. The dense fog split open, and everyone saw the true body of the Bewilderment Fog beast. It was a huge demonic beast that looked like a cow, yet not a cow. Above its head, there was white fog rising in spirals. After receiving Grand Elder Chen's full power strike, one of the horns on its head broke, and it was forcibly sent flying. So powerful. This Bewilderment Fog beast's battle strength is at least at the level of peak astral reaching experts, and its defense is similar to extreme astral reaching experts. It's extremely hard to kill. Chapter 366. Demonic beasts were inferior to human martial artists in terms of agility and reflexes. However, demonic beasts' defense far surpassed that of humans. Adding their powerful vitality, an attack that could injure an extreme astral reaching expert might not be able to injure a Bewilderment Fog beast. Grand Elder Chen, do you need our help? Yi Chen looked at the other party. Grand Elder Chen smiled, although this old man is old, I can still handle a bewilderment fog beast. You two don't need to do anything. I'll play with it. Grand Elder Chen was in high spirits. It was no wonder. As a Grand Elder, it was impossible for him to exchange pointers whenever he wanted. Even if he did, he would stop at the right time. How could he be as happy as now? Bang! The lake water parted as Grand Elder Chen charged straight out, clashing with the bewilderment fog beast. A moment later, Grand Elder Chen returned, his clothes dyed in blood. Not bad, straightforward. Grand Elder Yi, you don't know, but overseeing the ship is a job we look forward to. Yi Chen said, aren't you afraid that we'll also disappear mysteriously? To be honest, I'd like to know what made them disappear. Grand Elder Chen didn't seem to care. Lu Mei nodded, I'm also curious. After sailing for 2,500 li, the ship began to circle around the island. Of the 30,000 li bewilderment fog forbidden zone, they could only explore 5 to 6,000 li in the center. There are so many bewilderment fog island. It's only been 5 to 6,000 li in the center of the forbidden zone. Grand Elder Chen praised, formidable. No wonder Grand Elder Sun suffered in your hands. I'm still far from it. If I encounter an island master, I'll have to flee as well. Yi Chen's heart moved as he mentioned the matter of the 3 island masters. Hearing him, Grand Elder Chen said, actually, the 3 island masters are nothing special. Do you know why their battle power surpasses ours? Is it because of their martial will? Lu Mei interrupted. No. Grand Elder Chen shook his head, in terms of martial will, we're more or less the same. Even if we condense a martial soul embryo, we can't be that much stronger. The reason why the 3 island masters surpass us is because they have upper-grade artifacts. An upper-grade artifact can increase their attack power by 70 to 80%, while a mid-grade artifact can increase it by 30 to 40% at most. Attack power increase by 70 to 80%. An astral reaching expert can display the might of an upper-grade artifact. Yi Chen asked doubtfully. Grand Elder Chen explained, putting aside low-grade artifacts, mid-grade and upper-grade artifacts both require Jin Yuan to activate. At Clasping Yuan Realm, because the body is filled with Jin Qi, even a mid-grade artifact can increase one's attack power by 30 to 40%. A Clasping Yuan martial artist's attack power is clearly incomparable to an astral reaching expert's attack power by 30 to 40%. However, after entering the astral reaching realm, there is no such problem. Be it an astral reaching expert or a Sea of Soul realm expert, they all use Jin Yuan. Therefore, with an upper-grade artifact, an astral reaching expert can activate 50% of its power, directly increasing their attack power by 70 to 80%. In a battle of the same level, they would be practically invincible and unstoppable. Yi Chen faintly nodded. Indeed, one side could increase attack power by 30 to 40%, while the other side could increase attack power by 70 to 80%. How could they fight? As long as they were hit, their protective Jin Yuan would shatter for sure. What kind of upper-grade artifacts do the 3 island masters have? Do they have any defensive upper-grade artifacts? After these days of interaction, Yi Chen and Grand Elder Chen had a pretty good relationship, so he couldn't help but ask. Sub-Island Master Wang has a pair of Earth Attribute upper-grade gloves. Sub-Island Master Chui has an upper-grade blade. As for Island Master, his upper-grade artifact is a pair of Thunder Attribute iron hammers. Its might is quite powerful, even above the other 2. But, I don't know if they have any upper-grade artifacts. After pausing for a moment, Grand Elder Chen continued, if my guess is correct, the 3 island masters have no intention of going out. At least, before advancing to the Sea of Soul realm, they won't be in a hurry to go out. Upper-grade artifacts are absolutely rare objects in the true spirit continent. If they go out, they will have to face the pressure of Sea of Soul realm experts. After all, many Sea of Soul Realm experts don't even have an upper-grade artifact. If they encounter an even better upper-grade artifact, and the opponent is an astral-reaching expert, they will certainly make a move to snatch it. Hearing Grand Elder Chen's words, Yi Chen understood why the three island masters were unrivaled in the astral-reaching realm. Upper-grade artifacts could increase attack power by 70 to 80%. One could well imagine that an upper-grade artifact could also increase defense by 70 to 80%. With the two superimposed together, who among astral-reaching experts could contend against them? Unless the opponent also had an upper-grade artifact, they could only flee. Fortunately, I don't have an upper-grade artifact. Otherwise, it would be troublesome to go out. Lu Mei joked. Yi Chen smiled. As an extreme astral-reaching expert, there was no one who didn't yearn for an upper-grade artifact. Even if they couldn't use it in ordinary times, it would still be a trump card at a crucial moment. The night gradually deepened, and the fog became so dense that one couldn't even see their own fingers. Only the light ball on the small sensing tower flickered with light. On the deck, the clasping Yuan martial artists on shift were constantly paying attention to the sensing tower. As soon as an orange-red light appeared, they would immediately move in, lest they lose contact with the island. Splash! Splash! The lake water surged, and ripples appeared one after another. It was unknown whether it was Yi Chen's misconception, but bewilderment fog's ship accelerated. It should be known that there was no wind in the forbidden zone, and the ship's speed was fixed. Therefore, its speed could only be slow, and not fast. Could someone have changed their speed? Yi Chen creased his brows. As time passed, his misconception turned into reality. Bewilderment fog's ship had indeed accelerated, and it was getting faster and faster. From 100 li per hour, it increased to 110 li, 130 li, 160 li, and then 200 li. What's going on? In a short hour, Bewilderment fog's ship's speed had increased to such a degree. And this was only because the ship was huge, which made it difficult to perceive its speed. Pushing open the cabin door, Yi Chen arrived on the deck. Releasing his soul power, Yi Chen noticed that there were huge arcs above the lake water, extending for who knew how many li this is. Yi Chen pinched his chin. Soon after, he seemed to have thought of something. It's a whirlpool, an incomparably huge whirlpool. If a whirlpool was large enough, the spiral arms would extend for a very long distance. According to the thickness of the spiral arms above the lake water, Yi Chen estimated that the whirlpool ahead was at least 30 li in diameter. A 30 li whirlpool was simply a devouring black hole. Any object that approached it would be devoured, and the devouring energy it produced would also suck in objects in the air. Quickly turn the ship around. Yi Chen shouted. The one steering the ship was a clasping Yuan realm martial artist. He didn't have a soul power as terrifying as Yi Chen's. Moreover, he had never encountered such a situation before. He didn't know what was going on, but when he saw Yi Chen's ice-cold pupils, he subconsciously turned the steering wheel inward. The ship was huge, and changing direction wasn't an easy thing to do. Moreover, the entire ship seemed to be somewhat out of control, and was being dragged forward. Grand Elder Yi, we can't change direction. You continue to steer the ship. Making a prompt decision, Yi Chen flew up and arrived at the right side of bewilderment fog. Infused with Jin Yuan, he slowly pushed out. Creak. The ship gradually turned around, emitting a sound of being overwhelmed. At this moment, Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei walked out. Grand Elder Yi, what happened? Grand Elder Chen asked. Yi Chen said, there's a huge whirlpool ahead, and the ship is heading in that direction. What? The two were greatly shocked. The three of us worked together to change the ship's direction. Hopefully, we can leave the range of the whirlpool. Without the ship, it was unknown whether they could return to Bewilderment Fog Island. Every year, many astral-reaching experts would be trapped to death in bewilderment fog. Back then, they had also arrived at Bewilderment Fog Island by chance. With the three of them working together, the effect was much better. One was in charge of activating Jin Yuan to protect the ship, one was in charge of breaking the water flow and guiding the ship, and one was in charge of exerting force on the ship. Rumble. Abruptly, the ship uncontrollably slid sideways. Several li to the right of the ship, a huge whirlpool gradually formed. From 1 li, it became 2 li, 3 li, 5 li, it was as if it was changing with every breath. Not good, another whirlpool has appeared. Yi Chen exerted force with both his arms. With a turn, the entire ship soared into the sky. Then, he operated his Jin Yuan to resist the suction of the whirlpool. The three of them were like three flies beside a black hole, flapping their wings with all their might. Unfortunately, the whirlpool was getting bigger and bigger. In a short while, it had expanded to 30 to 40 li in size. It was pitch black inside, and the bottom couldn't be seen. The three of them and the ship were right above the whirlpool. Grand Elder Yi, abandon Bewilderment Fog ship and escape. The suction was getting stronger and stronger. Grand Elder Chen gave up on the idea of dragging the ship back. Helpless, Yi Chen nodded. The whirlpool of this Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone was incomparably frightening. The suction it produced could even suck in peak astral reaching experts. Although the three of them were powerful, they would still be sucked in after a long time. They wouldn't be able to escape even if they wanted to. Just as they were about to let go of the ship, a white mist tornado suddenly rushed out of the whirlpool, directly wrapping the three of them and the ship inside. Huff huff huff, the intense whirlpool made Yi Chen lose control, and his body involuntarily revolved around the eye of the tornado. This mist tornado is not an ordinary tornado. It's actually formed from pure Yuan Qi. Pure Yuan Qi was incomparably powerful. Forming a tornado with a diameter of several dozen li was simply invincible, unless someone could break it in one strike. At this moment, Yi Chen naturally didn't have the strength to do so. It might have been an instant, or it might have been a long time. The three of them completely lost contact with the outside world. The small sensing pagoda on Bewilderment Fog ship was also thoroughly extinguished, on the verge of collapse. Thanks to these two, I finally know how Bewilderment Fog ship and the three Grand Elders disappeared a dozen years ago. Yi Chen smiled bitterly. This time, his soul power was restricted by 90%. His mental power simply couldn't radiate out, and his Jin Yuan was also suppressed within his body. His entire body drifted along with the waves, sinking into the darkness within the darkness. Yeah, something happened to Bewilderment Fog ship. Bewilderment Fog Island, Bewilderment Fog Palace. The black-robed old man noticed that the sensing pagoda was flashing with an orange radiance. It was a sign that something had happened to the small sensing pagoda. Chapter 367. Rumble. Bewilderment Fog ship was smashed to pieces. Many clasping Yuan martial artists were bleeding from the corners of their mouths, apparently injured. Where is this? Everyone raised their heads and looked around. They discovered that they were in a wasteland. The wasteland was dark, and their line of sight was no more than 50 meters. Fortunately, their mental power was not restricted, and they could explore more than 10 kilometers away. Are we at the bottom of the lake? Lu Mei looked at Yi Chen and Grand Elder Chen in astonishment. Grand Elder Chen said in a low voice, Star Regional Lake is immeasurably deep. We might be tens of thousands of meters away from the surface. Grand Elder Yi, what do you think? I don't know for now. But, it's better to be careful. For some reason, Yi Chen felt very stifled, as if something extremely dangerous was about to happen. His breathing gradually became heavier. Yi Chen's tone made Lu Mei and Grand Elder Chen turn serious. Among them, Yi Chen was the strongest, and thus had the most authority. What should we do now? Lu Mei asked. Yi Chen said, let's investigate this place first. Grand Elder Chen nodded and said loudly, "Everyone, follow us. Hurry up. With the 3 Grand Elders leading us, we'll be much safer." The ship was enormous. There were more than 30 astral reaching experts and hundreds of clasping yuan martial artists on board. Hearing Grand Elder Chen's voice, these people felt a bit more at ease. With 3 extreme astral reaching experts, as long as there weren't any rank 9 demonic beasts, they would be safe. The hundreds of people were divided into 3 groups. The first group consisted of Yi Chen and the other 2, the second group consisted of more than 30 astral reaching experts, and the third group consisted of hundreds of clasping yuan martial artists. Under Yi Chen's command, the clasping yuan experts were divided into more than 10 groups of 20 people each, moving forward in an orderly manner. The ruins were desolate. White smoke rose from the ground, as if a huge volcano was brewing below. The white smoke was actually water vapor. In front of us is a stone forest. Every rock is like a mountain, a steep mountain. Grand Elder Chen was shocked. Using his soul power, he sensed that there were huge rocks 7 to 8 miles away. These rocks were 300 to 400 meters wide and thousands of meters tall. They were releasing a faint gray halo, as if they were glowing, which made them look spectacular. Yi Chen's soul power range was several times greater than Grand Elder Chen's, so he had already known about it. However, he felt that the stone forest was very dangerous, extremely dangerous, so he didn't say anything. "Should we go in and check?" Lu Mei and Grand Elder Chen looked at Yi Chen. Yi Chen thought for a moment, then said, "This stone forest is not simple. It's best not to go in for now. Let's finish exploring the other areas first." "Alright, then let's go around this stone forest." The group moved to the left in a grandiose fashion. The stone forest was too big, and it stretched for countless miles. After several hours, Yi Chen discovered that he couldn't see the end of it at all, so there was no point in taking a detour. Wah wah wah. Just at this moment, the cries of an infant that seemed to have been magnified countless times rang out. In this desolate area, it was so strange that it made one's hair stand on end. "Scared me. It's the fog beasts." Grand Elder Chen was shocked at first, but then a smile appeared on his face. Although the beasts were powerful, it was only for warriors below the extreme astral reaching realm. The 3 of them could easily take on 2 or more beasts, especially Yi Chen, who had the highest attacking power. It would be no problem for him to take on 3 or 4 beasts at once, so there was nothing to be afraid of. However, the next second, Grand Elder Chen froze. The cries of countless babies rang out incessantly, and it was extremely noisy. It was estimated that there were dozens or even hundreds of beasts roaring at the same time. So many beasts. Not good. Run. Yi Chen was the first to react. His voice was wrapped with his Jin Yuan and poured into everyone's ears. Run. Without any thoughts, everyone flew away in despair. If there were around 10 beasts, the 3 of them would still be able to fight for a while and slowly kill them. But if there were 20, they would have to run for their lives. And right now, there were definitely more than 100 of them. Any wave of attacks would be enough to kill them all. Shoo! 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 Yi Chen and the other 2 were the fastest. They shot out for miles within a blink of an eye, while the rest of them were left far behind. They all wished they could grow more legs and run as fast as they could. At the edge of the stone forest, countless huge beasts that looked like cows but were not cows jumped into the sky. Between their horns, there was a thick white fog. With one glance, one could see that there were more than 100 or 200 of them. There were at least 500 of them. In the middle of them were 5 beasts that were wrapped in fog, which were obviously more powerful than the normal ones. Hoo! 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 With a sharp sonic boom, the 500 beasts with red eyes chased after Yi Chen and the others at an extreme speed. That thick leather armor of theirs brought out sparks from the friction with the air. After a couple of breaths, the beasts were less than 3 miles away from them. The beasts in front of them slowed down a bit. Their mouths moved, and in the next second, beams of white light shot out, slicing through the air. Ah! One round of attacks. Hundreds of clasping Yuan realm warriors had been killed, and more than half of the 30 astral-reaching realm warriors had been killed. Only a couple of astral-reaching realm warriors with the fastest reactions were not injured. However, it was only one round of attacks from the beasts. So horrifying. Are we going to die here? The astral-reaching realm warrior who was running at the front had a pale face, his lips trembling. Yi Chen had been paying attention to the situation behind them. Seeing that the number of beasts was even more than he had imagined, he could not help but chuckle bitterly. 500 beasts, not to mention him, even an astral-reaching realm invincible warrior would be blown into ashes. Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei's sensing range was not as far as Yi Chen's. They thought that there were only 100 beasts, but it was already horrifying enough. In a way, there was no difference between 500 beasts and 100 beasts. One round of attacks would be enough to kill them. Luckily, the beast's speed is not as fast as ours. Lu Mei said with relief. Ah! A couple of screams were heard. Besides Yi Chen and the other two, the others had all died. Faster! Let's get rid of the beasts. Yi Chen pushed his separating shadow flying art with all of his power, his body turning blurry. Yeah. If we do not get rid of them, we can only run for our lives. Grand Elder Chen nodded. His Jin Yuan burst out, shooting out a silver light mark behind him. Lu Mei's speed was even faster than Grand Elder Chen's. Her body flashed once, and it seemed like there were 7 or 8 human shadows flying at the same time. She was not that much slower than Yi Chen. After a while, Yi Chen could no longer sense the beasts. So close. This place is the nest of the beasts. Grand Elder Chen breathed heavily, cold sweat appearing on his forehead. We can't stop yet. The beasts were only 40 to 50 miles away. Yi Chen said. Yeah, let's keep going. The three did not slow down at all, looking like 3 beams of weak light. Wah! 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 Before they could let out a breath, the beasts' roars were heard in front of them. Although there were not as many as the beasts behind them, there were still dozens of them. There were wolves in front and tigers behind. The three were in a desperate situation. Let's go! Yi Chen yelled as the greenwood sword appeared in his hand. As long as we don't get hit by 5 attacks at the same time, we will have the chance to survive. Let's go! Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei took out their weapons as well, their faces filled with killing intent. Dozens of miles only took a couple of breaths' time. The three were only a couple of miles away from the beasts. Boom! 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 The beasts opened their mouths, shooting out burning white light beams. Crack! Dozens of light beams interweaved with each other, moving as fast as lightning. No matter how good Yi Chen's flying art was, it would be hard for him to dodge all of them. After being hit by 3 light beams, his protective Jin Yuan was broken, and his speed dropped drastically. Lu Mei's flying art was not weaker than Yi Chen's, but she was also hit by 3 light beams. As for Grand Elder Chen, he was hit by 4 light beams, blood leaking out from the corner of his mouth. I will restrict their movements. You guys try your best to clear a path. Yi Chen held up his greenwood sword, waving out the 7th movement of his green lotus sword art. The air was frozen, and layers of green lotuses spread out, turning into sword chi and attacking the beasts' bodies. Shoo, the sword chi contained a horrifying sword intent, which cut through the beast's defense. Unfortunately, this kind of wound was just like a drizzle to the beasts. The only thing that made them angry was that within the coverage of the sword attack, their movements had been slowed down. Mountain attack. Grand Elder Chen held his silver light rapier and threw out an attack. Two beasts in front of him were blown away while puking out blood. Wind whip art. With a couple of popping sounds, a long black shadow flashed through, and at least 5 or 6 beasts were whipped away. Judging on the effect, it was a couple of times better than Grand Elder Chen's. Of course, the attacking power was a lot weaker, since Lu Mei's attack was more focused on whipping away the enemies, not killing them. Green Lotus Mountain opening. Between the two, 100-meter-long sword light fell down from the sky, leaving a black mark in the air before killing in the middle of all the beasts. Swoosh! One beast was cut into pieces, and a couple of others were wounded. More of them were blown away by the aftershock of the sword light. Charge! Yi Qin yelled. At this moment, the 3 of them pushed their speed to their limits. They passed through the empty area in the middle of the beasts, and were about to escape. Wah! An even louder roar was heard. Behind the beasts, in front of the 3, a huge beast covered in fog appeared out of nowhere. It opened its mouth, and a beam of white light with a hint of purple shot out, covering the 3 of them within. We can't avoid it anymore. Green Lotus Light. Yi Qin raised his sword to block out the attack. On the blade of his sword, there was a couple of meters long green lotus. He did not dare to make the green lotus bigger, since it would mean that the defense would be weakened, and it might not be able to block out this attack. Boom! The air was shaking, and the light seemed to have stopped time. Soon, the 3 of them were drowned in it. Pooh! Pooh! Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei puked out blood as they backed out. They slid for dozens of miles before returning to the front of the beasts. Yi Qin followed right behind them, still holding up his sword to block out the attack. Oh no! This beast's power is way more powerful than normal beasts. I'm afraid only astral-reaching realm paragons would be able to handle it. Grand Elder Chen forced a smile. The green lotus had been shattered, but Yi Qin was not wounded at all. However, the situation in front of them was too bad. The way in front of them had been cut off, and there were still 500 beasts chasing after them. Without any surprises, they would not be able to escape death. They had never thought that there would be such a dangerous place under the Forbidden Zone. Chapter 368. Just when the few of them had killed their way through and were forced back, the beasts behind them had finally caught up to dozens of miles away. The cries of the babies were heard throughout the whole space, which made Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei feel a little scared. On the other hand, Yi Qin was expressionless, his eyes cold and serious. The more dangerous the situation was, the calmer one needed to be. All of the negative emotions had to be cut down, not letting them waver. Sword artists were both extreme in terms of attacking power and willpower. Wanting to shatter a sword artist's willpower, it would be impossible to only threaten them with death. What should we do? Lu Mei asked anxiously. Yi Qin scanned the surroundings. If we run in other directions, we might run into more beasts. It is even more impossible to go up, since there is no sky here. Therefore, the only way left is underground. Underground? Indeed. The beasts have huge bodies, so their speed would be very slow. As long as we run deep enough, we will be safe. The underground was not like the sky. First of all, the spirit power would be mostly cancelled out by the endless rocks. Secondly, traveling underground would consume a lot of energy, and it would obviously not last long. Therefore, as long as the 3 ran underground, the chance of survival was still very high. Without any hesitation, the 3 dove down, shooting towards the underground. Shoo! 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 Of course, the beasts would not let Yi Qin and the other 2 leave. Burning white light beams shot out one after another, interweaving into a death net. Wherever they reached, a huge pit would appear on the ground, which was hundreds of meters deep. It brushed past the protective Zhen Yuan layer, twisting it rapidly. Boom! Being hit by 4 light beams at the same time, Yi Chen started bleeding from all over his body. His body was blown away, while Lu Mei and Grand Elder Chen were almost killed. Go down now. Less than a few hundred meters from the ground, Yi Chen's body exploded, and countless shadows spread out like a flood. Under the cover of the shadows, the 3 flashed once and disappeared into the ground. Rumble. The second wave of attacks arrived, and the ground was full of holes. It was as if a thick layer of the ground had been lifted off. The powerful vibrations reached deep into the ground, causing the 3 to be slightly wounded again. Follow me. The piercing power of the Green Lotus Jin Yuan was far greater than any other Jin Yuan. It was like an incomparably sharp sword, piercing through the mud in front of it, creating an unobstructed path. On the other hand, Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei were much slower than Yi Chen. The 2 clearly saw the advantage of the Green Lotus Jin Yuan. Their eyes brightened as they followed closely behind him. Several hundred meters. Several thousand meters. 10,000 meters. Although the speed at which the 3 of them traveled underground could not even reach the speed of sound, they were already more than 10,000 meters underground in just a few dozen breaths. Buzz. Wave after wave of tremors, the fog beasts charged into the ground, including the 500 beasts that had been chasing after Yi Chen. The tremors were very scattered. It was obvious that the dense fog beasts did not gather together to chase after him. Instead, they were in groups of 3 to 5, and hundreds of them were chasing after him. The situation was not optimistic. The mud is too dense. We cannot go down any further. When they had traveled 12,000 meters deep, Yi Chen's Jin Yuan would be used up dozens of times more than usual for every dozens of meters. If they continued to go down, they would not know how much more pressure they would have to face. In the water, astral reaching realm warriors could only dive tens of thousands of meters deep, and extreme astral reaching realm warriors could only go 100,000 meters deep at most. The pressure underground was more than 10 times higher than the pressure in the water. Right now, it was already their limit. Let's find a safe place to rest first. Lu Mei suggested. Yi Chen nodded. It was the only way. Instead of going down in a straight line, the 3 moved horizontally. As for the traces they had left behind, they had already been filled up by the heavy pressure, leaving no trace behind. All of a sudden, a wave of mental power scanned through the 3 of them. Not good. We have been discovered. Yi Chen frowned. Beasts were just like human warriors. Once they reached a certain level, they would be able to use mental power scanning techniques. However, compared to humans, the beasts' techniques were much weaker, which made it easier for them to be discovered. Boom! The rocks underground had been shattered as 5 beasts rushed over, letting out a series of sharp roars that spread out in all directions. Kill! The beasts in front of them were not that scary. What was scary was being surrounded by other beasts. Yi Chen pushed his Jin Yuan and waved out a sword attack with difficulty. Ka la la. A sword-shaped crack appeared on the ground, landing on the leading beast. However, that sword attack only managed to wound it badly. Under the ground, the attacking power had been weakened too much. The further the distance, the weaker the power. These 5 beasts were hundreds of meters away from the 3, but their attacking power had been reduced by 30%. It was impossible to kill them with one attack. Watch me. Grand Elder Chen held his silver light rapier as he spun his body. A cone-shaped light shot out, piercing through the leading beast's body. Bind. Compared to Yi Chen and Grand Elder Chen, since Lu Mei was using a whip art, her attacking power was almost negligible. However, she was very supportive. She shook her long whip, which was like a poisonous snake, moving around quickly in binding one of the beasts. Seizing the chance, Yi Chen performed his Green Lotus accumulation, which had the strongest penetrating power. A fist-sized green lotus pierced through the beast's forehead. Out of the 5 beasts, 2 had been killed within a second. the vibrating sound was heard, and the other beasts had received the message. Die. At this critical moment, Yi Chen did not have any intention of saving his power. He threw out a sword attack, and the sword light exploded. The surrounding soil was cut into pieces, and the blue sword light opened up a path, devouring the remaining 3 beasts. Blood splashed everywhere as the 3 beasts were all killed. So powerful. What kind of sword art is this? Grand Elder Chen could tell how powerful this attack was. The sword light's power went from strong to weak, and from weak to strong. The hundreds of meters distance seemed to have been ignored. Run! Under the ground, Yi Chen's spirit power could cover about 3 to 4 miles, so the beasts should not be as powerful as him. Besides, Yi Chen's soul power could cover 20 to 30 miles, which was his advantage, and would not be easily discovered. If they did not run now, it would be troublesome if they were surrounded. After traveling for a couple of miles, the second danger arrived. An extremely powerful spirit power scanned through the 3, and right after that, a burning white light column with a hint of purple appeared. Pooh! The 3 of them puked out blood as their protective Jin Yuan was completely shattered. It's the leader of the beasts. Grand Elder Chen had a dark look in his eyes. Yi Chen said, "No rush. It is still 2 miles away from us, and the light column's power is not that powerful. We just need to run, and it should not be able to catch up." Just like Yi Chen had expected, the beast's body was too huge, and its speed had decreased even more. Judging solely on speed, it was at least 2 times slower than any of the 3. After a couple of hours, there were no more spirit power scanning this place. Finally, we are safe. Lu Mei let out a breath, feeling that her body was completely empty. Her Jin Yuan replenishment speed could not keep up with the consumption speed. If it dragged on for a while longer, no one knew what would happen. Yi Chen said, "Let's each open up a small space to recover our Jin Yuan." "All right." The 2 nodded. It was not that easy to open up a space 10,000 meters under the ground. The bigger the space, the faster it would collapse, since the pressure from above would be unbelievably powerful. Eventually, Yi Chen managed to open up a space that could fit his body. It was less than 1 meter in width, which was perfect for sitting in. "I have to break through to the late astral reaching realm as soon as possible. With that, my battling power would basically be equivalent to an astral reaching realm unbeatable warrior, and I would not have to be so embarrassed anymore." Right now, Yi Chen's cultivation was at the peak level of mid-astral reaching realm, and his battling power would be one of the top extreme astral reaching realm warriors. Any kind of breakthrough would be extremely rare. But in comparison, the cultivation breakthrough would be even easier, while the sword intent and mentality breakthrough would be too hard. Yi Chen did not know when he would be able to reach the 14th realm of his Green Lotus Sword spell. Once he did, his battling power would be extremely powerful. Holding a mid-rank soul stone in each of his hands, Yi Chen went into training mode. Time passed bit by bit, and the beasts were still searching everywhere. Occasionally, there would be 1 or 2 groups of beasts that were a couple of miles away. However, the underground was too big, and the limitations were also huge. A slight mistake could lead to a huge error, which gave Yi Chen and the other 2 some time to rest. Who? Not knowing how many days had passed, a wave of vibration spread out. "It is Grand Elder Yi. He has made a breakthrough." Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei were both shocked. Yi Chen was already very powerful, and now that he had made another breakthrough, he would be even more powerful now. Perhaps it was the intense pressure that had stimulated Yi Chen's hidden potential. Right then, Yi Chen had indeed made a breakthrough. His cultivation had reached the late astral reaching realm, and the quality and quantity of his Jin Yuan had increased by 30%. In other words, judging only on the basic power, there were not many astral reaching realm warriors that could compete with him. The vibration created by the breakthrough had a wide range. A group of beasts nearby had sensed the disturbance and rushed over while roaring. Yi Chen opened his eyes, perfect timing. Underground, the advantage of the beast's numbers had been greatly limited. If it were on the ground, all Yi Chen could do was run away. He would not dare to fight head-on at all. Boom! The hole had been shattered, and Yi Chen stood up. He took out his green wood sword with his right hand and threw out a sword attack. Swoosh! The soil had been shattered into sand all of a sudden. The sword light increased drastically, looking like a crescent moon as it sliced through the beasts' bodies. Blood spilled everywhere as 4 beasts were sliced into pieces. Killing 4 beasts with one sword attack. This is the power of an astral reaching realm warrior. Lu Mei opened her mouth wide, shocked beyond words. Grand Elder Chen was also shocked. It should be known that Yi Chen did not have a top-rank weapon on him, but he had the power of an astral reaching realm warrior. He was very clear about what it meant. Wah! Out of the 5 fog beasts, 4 were dead, and the last one was slightly injured. This fog beast was not an ordinary one, it was the leader of the fog beasts. It roared angrily as it opened its mouth and shot out a purple-white light column. Chin! Sparks flew everywhere, melting the soil nearby. Yi Chen backed out with his sword, easily blocking out the full power attack of the beast. Die! Stopping his backing out, Yi Chen held his sword with both of his hands and waved out another sword attack. This sword attack pierced through hundreds of meters deep into the ground. A beam of sword light shot out, cutting off half of the beast's body. Chapter 369. Before the beast leader died, its body was shrouded in smoke, which then exploded. Pieces of flesh pierced through the ground, shooting out dozens of miles away. Soon, those pieces of flesh continued to spit out a thick white fog. As the fog was spat out, the size of the pieces of flesh became smaller and smaller, until they disappeared completely. This fog is not simple. It can even slowly seep into the rocks. Yi Chen pushed his soul power, and immediately realized the strangeness of the fog. Rumble. Just as Yi Chen finished his sentence, all of the beasts underground moved out together, rushing towards Yi Chen crazily. That kind of sound was like the earth was shaking. Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei were shocked. How could it be? Although the battle between Yi Chen and the beast leader was quite loud, it would only attract the nearby beasts. How could it be possible for all of them to move out together, as if they knew where they were? Could it be because of this fog? Lu Mei was shocked. No time to waste. Let's leave this place first. The green lotus Shen Yuan cut through the mud and rocks, and Yi Chen led the two to break through towards the south. There were relatively fewer beasts in the south, but there were still more than 50 of them. These beasts were in groups of 5, keeping a few hundred meters distance from each other. Kill. After reaching the late astral reaching realm, Yi Chen's battling power had increased drastically. Every casual sword attack of his had an unstoppable power. Besides the beast leader, basically no one else could take one attack from him. Lu Mei was helping him on the side, performing her wind whip art. The whip shadow was like a snake, binding up the beasts one after another, making it impossible for them to gather together. Although Grand Elder Chen was not as powerful as Yi Chen in terms of attacking power, it was still quite effective for him to take care of some of the beasts that managed to escape. Just like that, the 3 of them had a clear division of labor, fighting their way out. Should we go up there? After escaping from the beast's encirclement, Grand Elder Chen sent a Zhen Yuan message to Yi Chen. Yi Chen shook his head, no need to rush. Right now, it seems like no one will notice us. But, the situation up there might not be that good. Let's kill a certain amount of beasts first before going up. Hunt foggy beasts? Lu Mei was surprised. Underground, the range of the mental power is limited. It will be hard for the dense fog beasts to surround us, and we can change our location after every shot. Hearing this, Lu Mei and Grand Elder Chen were suddenly enlightened. They looked at each other and smiled bitterly. They were still thinking about how to escape, but Yi Chen had already figured out the fundamental solution. It seemed that different levels of power determine different ways of looking at problems. In order to hunt fog beasts, one must have a certain amount of capital. Yi Chen's capital was his soul power. The range of his soul power was around 10 times that of the fog beasts. This was his weapon that allowed him to take the initiative. Ha! There are actually 3 groups of beasts gathered together in this area. A smile flashed on Yi Chen's face. He waved his greenwood sword in the air, and a huge green lotus bloomed. Chi 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 chi, the next moment. Dense green sword chi burst out from Yi Chen's body, like a hedgehog spitting out its spikes, giving the enemy in front of it a fatal attack. Without any ability to fight back, the 3 groups of dense fog beasts were drowned in the torrent of sword chi, riddled with holes. Let's go. After killing the enemy with one attack, Yi Chen changed his location immediately. Using the same method, within 3 days, Yi Chen had killed more than 400 beasts, including 3 of their leaders. Now we can go up. Putting his greenwood sword back into its scabbard, Yi Chen lightly stepped on the ground and his body shot up. Crack! The ground cracked open, and the 3 appeared in midair. Grand Elder Yi, how about we go check out the stone forest? We do not know how to get out yet anyway. Grand Elder Chen suggested. Yi Chen nodded. There might be a huge amount of beasts in the stone forest, but compared to before, Yi Chen's battling power had improved a lot. He could be considered as invincible among the astral-reaching realm. He could fight 1-on-1, or even 10 at the same time, and he would not be afraid. Even if it did not work out, he would be able to escape from the underground. Therefore, it would not be a big deal for him to explore the stone forest. Shoo! 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 The 3 performed their flying art, flying towards the stone forest. As for how big the stone forest was, Yi Chen did not know. Every rock inside was like a mountain, shining with a gray light. The 3 entered the stone forest area quietly. Do not release your mental power. Yi Chen said with a Zhen Yuan transmission. Lu Mei nodded, indeed. Scanning with mental power will attract the attention of the beasts. The 3 of them did not discover any traces of the dense fog beasts, and they could not help but relax. They were not afraid of 1 or 2 beasts, but they were afraid of hundreds of beasts. Not to mention astral-reaching realm paragons, even 3 or 4 astral-reaching realm paragons would not be able to handle hundreds of attacks. They would be turned into ashes within a second. After about 1 hour, the 3 arrived at the deep end of the stone forest. It is a spirit plant. Grand Elder Chen's eyes focused. In a corner that was not easy to notice, he found a spirit plant with waxy white leaves and blue flowers. This spirit plant was about the size of a palm. The tiny tubes on its stem were clearly visible, just like the meridians of a human body. Tendon refining flower. There is a tendon refining flower here. In the auction, one of them could be sold for at least 5,000 mid-rank soul stones. If it could be made into a tendon refining pellet with other precious materials, even 30,000 mid-rank soul stones would not be too much. It would be priceless. Lu Mei screamed out loud. Yi Chen was shocked. He did not know much about the tendon refining flower, but he had heard about the tendon refining pellet. The meridians of the human body were very important, but also relatively fragile. If the meridians were blocked, the battling power would not be able to be used to its peak. If the meridians were broken, it would be a catastrophic injury for a warrior, which would be hard to heal. However, a tendon refining pellet could not only heal the broken meridians in a short period of time, but it could also strengthen the meridians, increasing their toughness to a horrifying level. I will not hold back then. Grand Elder Chen was the first one to find the tendon refining flower. He waved his hand, and the flower flew out of the ground, landing on his hand. Yi Chen said lightly, there will be a lot of treasures and spirit plants. We need to make a rule. The rule is that whoever finds the treasure first will get to keep it. What do you guys think? Hehe, I have no problem with that. Lu Mei agreed. Grand Elder Chen obviously had no problem with that. Judging on power, Yi Chen was the strongest. This rule was obviously beneficial to him and Lu Mei. Otherwise, if Yi Chen decided to rob them, they would have to run away. Remembering the appearance of the tendon refining flower, Yi Chen quietly released his soul power, spreading it out in all directions. Soul power was higher than soul power, so it was hard to detect. Underground, Yi Chen had used his soul power to take the initiative and kill a large number of beasts. Not long after, Yi Chen found 2 tendon refining flowers, so he flew towards them. Wow, Grand Elder Yi is so lucky. Grand Elder Chen only thought that Yi Chen had good eyesight, but he did not expect him to find them with his soul power. Regarding this, Yi Chen did not say anything. Tendon refining flower, 3 4-leaf plants, 7-star blue, there were a lot of spirit plants in the stone forest. In just half a day, the 3 of them had gotten 3 to 4 of them each. The lowest value among them was at least 1,000 mid-rank soul stones, while the most valuable one would be the 7-star blue, which was the main material for the Earth Astral Pellet. The Earth Astral Pellet could increase the total Jin Yuan of early Astral Reaching Realm warriors, and it was also useful for mid and late Astral Reaching Realm warriors. If there were enough of it, it would not take too long to reach the peak level from late Astral Reaching Realm. One 7-star blue could be used to make dozens of Earth Astral Pellets. Without soul power, Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei did not even get 30% of what Yi Chen had gotten, and that was after Yi Chen had been holding back a little, leaving some leftovers for them. Yeah. What kind of spirit plant is this? There is a pure soul chi on it. Yi Chen's pupils shrank. The soul was the foundation of a human being. Physical wounds could be healed, but if the soul was wounded, it would be devastating. Therefore, the spirit plant with the soul chi would be the top spirit plant without a doubt. Shoo! His body turned into a wisp of black smoke, disappearing within a blink of an eye. Lu Mei was surprised. Did he find something? There were no traces of beasts in the stone forest. The 3 had already started to use their mental power to scan the area a couple of hours ago. Right then, seeing that Yi Chen had flown out without saying a word, they thought that he had found some kind of treasure. Let's go as well. Grand Elder Chen said. In the deep part of the stone forest, there was a 10 meters tall and 10 meters wide flat rock. On top of the rock, there were 2 1-foot-tall crystal-clear spirit plants growing. The stems of the spirit plants were twisted, and with a closer look, one could see that they were bent 9 times in total. There were 6 leaves on the top of the stem, which had a hint of black in it. Under the cover of the leaves, there was an object that looked like a fruit, but not a fruit, or a flower. It was made up of rice grain-sized grains, surrounded by a light-colored chi. This is the 9-turn spirit plant. Oh my God! It really exists. If it were not for the fact that Yi Chen was standing right next to the plant, Grand Elder Chen would have rushed up and tried to take it for himself. 9-turn spirit plant. Can you explain? Yi Chen turned his head and looked at the 2. Grand Elder Chen said, the 9-turn spirit plant is extremely rare in the world. Eating it directly can increase one's lifespan by 9 years, and it can also strengthen the human body's soul. Not only increasing one's lifespan, but strengthening one's soul is something that even Sea of Souls realm warriors dream about. You have to know that the more powerful the soul is, the more powerful the willpower it can carry. In other words, if the soul is powerful enough, then the potential of the martial spirit will be powerful enough. Besides that, it is extremely hard to increase the power of the martial spirit. So, the relationship between the soul and the willpower is just like I had guessed. Yi Chen had already sensed that the relationship between the soul and the willpower was not normal. Right now, after hearing Grand Elder Chen's explanation, he had a clear feeling about it. Without any hesitation, Yi Chen directly moved the whole rock and the plant into his mid-rank storage ring. The mid-rank storage ring was 10 times bigger than the low-rank one, and could barely contain a 10-meter square rock. A look of admiration appeared on Grand Elder Chen's face. He was still far from the end of his lifespan, but no one would not want to see the plant, and he was no exception. Chapter 370. The stone forest seemed to be boundless, as if there was no end to it. The three had been searching inside for a couple of days, but besides some spirit plants, they had found nothing. In the middle of the 1,000-meter-tall rock, there were 3 caves that were dozens of meters apart. These caves were made by Yi Chen and the other 2. They were a couple of meters wide and dozens of meters deep. Inside the middle cave, Yi Chen sat on the ground with his legs crossed. In his hand was a sky demon flower petal. My body has already been strengthened to an extreme. Continuing to strengthen it would not have much effect. I can only use it to heal wounds in the future. Although Yi Chen did not train body-strengthening martial arts, after being trained by the Sky Demon Flower, his body was definitely one of the best among astral-reaching realm warriors. In a battle with the same cultivation, it would not be easy to hurt him anymore. Putting away the Sky Demon Flower petal, Yi Chen focused on the 9-twist spirit plant in his storage ring. After thinking for a while, he tore off a leaf from it. The leaf was finger-long, crystal clear with a hint of black, looking like a beautiful jade. Putting the leaf into his mouth, Yi Chen did not see anything strange, so he chewed it up and swallowed it. A wave of cool qi spread out, seeping into his limbs and the deepest part of his body. Then, a faintly discernible light-colored vibration rose up directly, rushing into his soul ocean between his eyebrows. Right then, Yi Chen could clearly feel that his soul power had increased a bit, and his mind was clear. Indeed, this 9-twist spirit plant has the effect of strengthening the soul. I wonder how effective it would be if I swallow it whole. With that thought in mind, Yi Chen did not hesitate anymore. He took out that 9-twist spirit plant with one leaf torn off and swallowed it whole. More cool qi spread out to his limbs and the light-colored vibration was like a clear spring, rushing into his soul ocean, bringing up hundreds of meters tall waves. Boom! Between his eyebrows, Yi Chen's eyebrows bulged like a King Kong pearl. He had sunk into a deep state. The soul ocean was the origin of the soul. The depth and size of the soul ocean represented the power of the soul. An entire plant of 9-twist reverse spirit plant had brought an unparalleled effect. Yi Chen only felt like he was floating in the air, as if his soul could carry his body, and a blurry door was slowly opening. When he opened his eyes again, a day had passed in the outside world. Is the strength of the soul the true strength? Yi Chen's strength hadn't increased at all, but he felt more confident and more powerful than before. It was as if he could make his opponent bow their heads without a fight with a single glance. This was strength from the inside out, and a deep level of nobility. Quietly releasing his soul power, Yi Chen realized that the range of his soul power had increased by 30%, from 40 miles to 50 miles. I've already consumed one. I'll save the other one for later use in concocting pills. Medicinal pills were the crystallization of human wisdom. Compared to the original medicinal power of spiritual herbs, medicinal pills could increase the original medicinal power to a whole new level. Rising to his feet, Yi Chen flew to the air outside the cave. Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei had noticed Yi Chen's movement, so they followed him out. The two exchanged a look with Yi Chen. They were both shocked, and there was a slight numbness in their bodies. Yi Chen's pupils were pitch black. Wherever his gaze landed, the air seemed to freeze, and a vague willpower started to affect the environment. Willpower in one's gaze? How is this possible? Grand Elder Chen was shocked. It was not that there were no warriors with willpower that was more powerful than Yi Chen's. All of the warriors who had condensed their martial spirits were more powerful than Yi Chen's willpower. However, they could only imbue their willpower into themselves, and could not affect others. Even Sea of Souls realm warriors could not imbue their eyes with willpower. Only the most powerful Sea of Souls realm warriors could do so. As the numbness disappeared, Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei subconsciously felt respect for Yi Chen. The young man in front of them had a more powerful foundation than they had imagined. It was not something that a single 9-turn spirit grass could do. Yi Chen saw the two's strange expression and thought about something. He took back his gaze and said, "You two, let's continue looking for a way out." "All right." As they got deeper, the rocks in the stone forest became more and more majestic. The three of them stopped in front of a majestic rock that was 3,000 meters tall. At the bottom of the rock, there was a 33 meters tall stone door. It was tightly shut, with human figures carved on both sides. Willpower door. Grand Elder Chen was twice as old as Yi Chen and Lu Mei combined. His knowledge was not something the two could compete with, so he could recognize the meaning of the stone door immediately. Willpower door. I have heard about it before. It seems like if one wants to open the door, one would have to go through the willpower attack of the human figures. If one could not handle it, then they would not be able to enter. Lu Mei took over the conversation. Grand Elder Chen nodded. With the existence of the willpower door, there should be no other way to enter. If we try to force our way in, there might be a disaster waiting for us. Then let's go in through the willpower door. Yi Chen was the first one to arrive in front of the door, reaching out his hand to push. Who? The two human figures seemed to have come back to life. They groaned angrily, as an invisible willpower made the air as thick as water, covering all three of them. Yi Chen looked straight ahead, his back straight. His own sword willpower clashed with the willpower of the two figures, and he did not take a single step back. Grand Elder Chen seemed to be extremely weak. Although the willpower attack was not real, it could be turned into reality. If he thought that he was hurt, then he was really hurt. Pooh! Puking out a mouthful of blood, Grand Elder Chen's face was extremely pale. Lu Mei was not much better than Grand Elder Chen. Under the willpower attack, the scene of her being thrown into the air appeared in her mind. The next second, she puked out a mouthful of blood, which matched her imagination. Kill! Yi Chen stood in the front, so he had to bear the strongest willpower attack. His whole body was like a small boat in the ocean, drifting with the current. The ancient longsword above his soul seat vibrated as he pushed his sword intent, using the condensed sword intent to cut open the willpower. The illusion in his mind did not appear, nor did it move at all. After a long time, the willpower disappeared, and the stone door opened slowly. Huh! Letting out a heavy breath, Yi Chen turned around to look at Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei. The two of them were sweating profusely, their faces pale, and their eyes filled with fear. Willpower to hurt people. How unbelievable! How powerful must one be to do that? Yi Chen could not imagine how horrifying the willpower contained in those statues was. Facing the willpower just now, the only thing he could do was to stay true to himself and use his sword intent to fight against it. After resting for a while, Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei recovered a little. Let's go in. Grand Elder Chen really wanted to know what was inside the door of willpower. It must be something special. Entering the stone door, the first thing they saw was a wide field. In front of the field, there were 11 huge statues arranged in order. They were made of ordinary materials, which were gray without any color. It seemed like they would fall with one push. There was nothing special about them. Yi Chen realized that there were more than 11 statues. In between some of the statues, there were a lot of broken stones, which had the shape of the statues. Obviously, they had been broken. Looking around, there were 7 broken statues in total. Adding the ones that were still intact, there were 18 of them in total. Grand Elder Chen was completely shocked. Willpower statues. 11 willpower statues. This is something even more horrifying than the door of willpower. Hearing him, Yi Chen frowned secretly as he walked slowly to the last statue. There was a stone plate on the ground in front of the statue, with 4 big words written on it, Gold Hand King. Gold Hand King. King. Was this not a statue of a life and death realm warrior? Yi Chen sucked in a breath of cold air. The will statues of the king warriors were not something to be trifled with. Who had set up 18 will statues inside this rock? What was with the shattered will statues? Why were there still 11 complete ones here? All of a sudden, a lot of thoughts flashed through Yi Chen's mind. Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei walked over to have a look, and they were even more shocked. The willpower statues were also divided into different levels. Without a doubt, the king warrior's willpower was the top one. Grand Elder Chen was shocked for a while before he said slowly, the willpower statues are different from the door of willpower. The door of willpower tests the warrior's willpower, and one would not be able to get much benefit from it. However, the willpower statues could allow the warrior to gain enlightenment. For example, if the owner of the willpower statue was a blade artist, then it would be best for a blade artist to take the test. If the owner was a fist art warrior, then it would be best for a fist art warrior to take the test. It would be the same for the others. Those broken willpower statues should have been taken by someone before, and then they broke on their own. The remaining 11 willpower statues have not been used yet. I think I will not take the test. The willpower attack from the door of willpower had almost broken me down. The king warrior's willpower attack would definitely shatter my willpower. Lu Mei took a deep breath, her eyes clear and bright. Grand Elder Chen nodded, the willpower of a life and death realm warrior could already affect reality. Although there is only a trace of willpower left in this statue, it is still not something that the door of willpower can compare with. Of course, the willpower of the statue is not fixed. It will increase according to the power of the warrior's willpower. If the warrior is already a life and death realm warrior, then the willpower in the statue would be the limit of the warrior's willpower. Grand Elder Chen, do you want to take the test of the willpower statue? Yi Chen asked. Grand Elder Chen hesitated for a while, then forced a smile and said, "Nah, it is too dangerous. Then the 2 of you can leave first." Lu Mei was surprised, "You want to take it?" That's right. Taking the test of the willpower statue was a very dangerous thing to do, so Yi Chen had to ask the 2 to leave. Otherwise, if either one of them decided to do something bad to him at the critical moment, he would be doomed forever, which was not something he wanted to see. The 2 understood Yi Chen's intention, so they turned around and walked out of the stone door. Boom! The stone door was closed. If the 2 wanted to enter, they would have to take the test again. Before, Yi Chen had taken most of the willpower attack, so the 2 were only slightly wounded. Without Yi Chen, they would not be able to enter again. Taking a deep breath, Yi Chen walked back to the statue. Finally, I implore everyone to vote for me. Chapter 371. The last king's will statue was that of Golden Hand King. Unsurprisingly, this Gold Hand King specialized in hand arts. Apart from sword Dao and blade Dao, although the wills of other life and death kings were no different, there were definitely some subtle differences. For example, if a person who specialized in staff arts were to take the test of Gold Hand King's will, the result would certainly not be as good as a person who specialized in hand arts. The second last statue had already shattered, and 3 words were carved on it, Earth-Splitting King. The remaining statues were Wind Cloud Blade King, Divine Whip King, Silver Spear King, Dual Sword King, Tyrant Fist King, Chasing Wind King, Diamond King, Bewitching Eye King, the third was Iron Sword King, and the first was a titled monarch, Star Emperor. Every statue seemed ordinary, but when one calmed down and sensed their existence, the statues seemed to have come to life. Golden Hand King's will statue shone with a golden light, and a sky-covering hand descended from the sky, leaving no place to escape. Wind Cloud Blade King's blade swept out, causing the heaven and earth to change color. Silver Spear King's silver spear pierced through the sky like a silver meteor. Dual Sword King held a sword in each hand, and the two swords intersected, severing vitality. Tyrant Fist King's fists filled one's field of vision, encompassing the heaven and earth. Wind Chasing King's attacks were formless and invisible, representing extreme speed. Diamond King's majestic muscles bulged, and each of his movements contained boundless might. Bewitching Eye King's pupils were vertical, and when they contracted, an indescribable power pierced through the void. The third-ranked Iron Sword King gave Yi Chen a taste of sword aura. With a casual wave of his sword, the mountains and rivers split apart. Everything before his eyes seemed like fleeting clouds. As for the Star Emperor, Yi Chen couldn't use words to describe him. He couldn't see the Star Emperor, and could only see the dark sky filled with countless stars. Meteors were falling from the sky at every moment, striking the ground. On this statue, Yi Chen could sense a trace of the will of the heavenly Tao, which could not be resisted. Is this the aura of a life and death king? The second-ranked statue has some words on it. The second statue had been used by someone, and it was called Mysterious King. On the lower right corner of the stone slab were 2 lines of words. 18 remaining 15. Don't take Star Emperor, just Mysterious King. Through Mysterious Gate, rise above emperors, and attack heavenly will. To Yen Qingxian, Xian Ho. It was Xian Ho. The one who left these words was actually the world-famous Xian Ho. Xuanho's title was taken from her name, Yen Qingxian. The word Xian was a homonym, and it was extremely mysterious. However, from the looks of it now, there was more than one meaning. The title of King of Mysteries also had a mysterious meaning, and Xianho had mentioned the door of mysteries in the words she left behind. The combination of the 3 meanings was the mystery of Xianho. The 2 lines of words contained Xuanho's lofty aspirations. 18 remaining 15 should mean that of the 18 statues, only 15 remained intact. Don't take Star Emperor meant that she didn't accept the trial of Star Emperor's statue, not that she didn't dare. It could be seen that Xianho had the ability to accept the trial of Star Emperor's statue, but she had given up. With Mysterious Gate, rise above emperors, and attack heavenly will, it was easy to guess that Xianho already had her own Tao. This Tao was precisely the door of mysteries, which allowed her to rise above emperors and attack heavenly will. This is a powerful woman who pursues the peak. Yi Chen let out a breath. He could imagine that Xianho wasn't a life and death king at that time, and she might not have even entered Sea of Soul Realm. However, she didn't have the slightest doubt that she would vanish in the crowd. She even said that she would use her own Tao to surpass all emperors. Right now, she had already accomplished half of it. Under Su King, no one dared to say that they could surpass Xianho. What was even more frightening was that Xuanho's life had only just begun. Of course, the higher one's strength, the wider one's horizons. Yi Chen had long known that true spirit continent wasn't the whole world, and that life and death kings weren't limited to what they seemed on the surface. There were still many old monsters and demons who had been in seclusion for hundreds of years. When they returned, true spirit continent would be reshuffled. Among the 11 statues, there are 2 statues of sword kings. Let's start with Dual Sword King's Will statue. Retracting his gaze, Yi Chen arrived before Dual Sword King's Will statue. Dual Sword King was a middle-aged man with a grim expression. He wore a golden crown on his head and a close-fitting battle robe on the outside. He had a wrist guard on his wrist and a sword on either side of his waist. These 2 swords weren't the same. The one on the left was slightly wider, while the one on the right was slightly longer. A faintly discernible murderous aura lingered around them. I wonder what Dual Sword King's sword will looks like. His expression suddenly turned grave and stern. The ancient long sword above Yi Chen's Sea of Soul trembled, and an all-conquering sword intent spread out on Dual Sword King's Will statue. Kill. Kill. With the word kill resounding in his ears, a light figure walked out of Dual Sword King's will statue. As soon as this light figure appeared, Yi Chen knew that it was Dual Sword King's will image. A frightening pressure filled the heaven and earth. Even the void couldn't bear his presence and loudly collapsed. In the next moment, Yi Chen's pupils shrank. He saw Dual Sword King's will image pull out the two swords at his waist, crisscrossing them and slashing at an unimaginable speed. Two huge cracks appeared in the space, and Yi Chen couldn't even move a finger. Rip. In a flash, Yi Chen's body shattered into thousands of pieces. Blood collided in the air and scattered in all directions like a huge flower of blood. Huh, my slaughter sword will connects the past and present. Die. Dual Sword King's will image laughed crazily, his long hair fluttering in the wind. My will is immortal and inextinguishable. My soul is eternal. Your sword will is thousands of times stronger than mine, so what? This is just a remnant of your will. It can't affect reality. Everything is an illusion. Everything is fabricated. Reassemble. Blood spurted out from the corner of the eyes, and the lips on the flesh let out a loud roar. A horrifying light shot out from Yi Chen's eyes as his sword will spread out. In an instant, thousands of pieces of flesh reassembled, forming a complete body. Immortal sword will, what a familiar feeling. Who are you to battle king? No, sword will can't be inherited. Everyone has their own will. This should be the sword will you comprehended from Battle King. Battle King, since you have such achievements in sword will, why do you call yourself Battle King? I know you've always wanted to call yourself Sword King, or even Sword Emperor. Unfortunately, the title of Sword King has already been taken by the ancients. Today's titled monarchs were just weak monarchs in the ancient times. A single Sword King could beat everyone under the heavens. Dual Sword King's will image murmured to himself, then his eyes fell on Yi Chen. Your will is very young. You should be a little brat. Brat, what is your goal? Yi Chen didn't know if the other could hear him or not, but he said resolutely, my goal is very simple. I want to become stronger step by step. I can't hear your voice, but I can feel your will. Brat, attack the Sword King. Wait until the day you become a Sword King, there should be no one under the heavens who can be your opponent. Since ancient times, no one has ever surpassed the ancient Sword Kings in sword will. Buzz. After saying this, the Dual Sword King's will image turned into countless light dots and dissipated. The will statue behind him cracked and collapsed. Looking straight at the rubble, Yi Chen thought, slaughter sword will, what an amazing sword will. If it was still alive, its will could affect reality, and I would have already died 1,000 times. When a person is dead, the will has no support and can only exist in nothingness. However, if it is deceived by the illusion, then it is true death. There is only a fine line between life and death. Closing his eyes, Yi Chen felt the moment just now. Dual Sword King was famous for his dual swords. One sword was for killing everyone in front of him. The other was for massacring, slaughtering the world. With the two swords combined, he became a king. After a long time, Yi Chen opened his eyes. This is not my sword Dao, but I can use it as a reference. Moving his feet, Yi Chen arrived in front of Iron Sword King's will statue, which was ranked third. Iron Sword King's will statue's expression was very calm, with a trace of loneliness. The simple and unadorned iron sword was casually inserted into the ground, slanted and 3 feet away from his palm. Calming his mind, Yi Chen urged his sword intent to radiate onto Iron Sword King's will statue. Iron Sword King's will image walked out step by step. He didn't attack Yi Chen, but looked up at the sky and said, "It's getting dark." Yi Chen's eyes were firm, unmoved. Your sword will has an immortal nature. Among the younger generation, only Battle King has this potential. However, you are not him. Your will is more reserved, while his will has always been one of supremacy. Perhaps, you are his successor. Iron Sword King's words made Yi Chen realize that this person had become famous before Battle King. When he died, Battle King hadn't reached the legendary level. My will is the destruction sword will. With one sword, all things will be destroyed. Take advantage of the darkness to make your move. Clang. Pulling out the iron sword phantom beside him, Iron Sword King's will image calmly stood there. After experiencing the slaughter sword will, Yi Chen's heart was as calm as an ancient well. Extinguish. With a casual wave of the iron sword, heaven and earth ceased to exist, and everything turned into primal chaos. Previously, Yi Chen had secretly estimated Iron Sword King's sword will, but with a wave of his sword, he immediately understood that Iron Sword King's sword will was twice as strong as Dual Sword King's. It was uncertain whether Battle King's achievements were higher than his. Body and soul, instantly annihilated. Yi Chen couldn't feel himself. He was muddle-headed and lost all his 5 senses. Drifting with the current, it was as if he had disappeared from this world. A speck of brilliance lit up. It was the essence of Yi Chen's will. Immortal. Immortal. Reassemble. Faintly, Yi Chen's 5 senses gradually recovered, but he didn't have a body. He roared and automatically condensed a will image, contending against Iron Sword King's destruction sword will. Not bad, you have grasped the essence of immortality and firmly believe that you are immortal. Iron Sword King's will image nodded with a smile. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.